No.
Hey y'all, so I'm jumping on really quickly. First of all, it's too cold in this building. So yes, excuse me. I know I look tacky, but this is my jacket because I'm about to head out for a second to do votes. But I wanted to make sure that I told y'all what just happened. So I've been in oversight forever today, but now we are in our markup and it is in judiciary. And let me tell y'all what they just voted for. I want y'all to take a guess. Okay. Y'all probably not gonna guess it because it don't make sense. But if you think of the most ridiculous thing that they could do, okay, I know that that's really hard too because everything that they do is quite ridiculous. But literally, they just voted. They being the other ones, not us, because we were all on the right side of history. They just voted to give Trump the ability, legally, to give him the ability to deport U.S. citizens. That is what they voted for. A bunch of elected U.S. representatives. That is how they voted. Am I telling a lie, Eric, or no?
No, I got my salad here. Mouthful. No. I'm stunned.
I'm not. But I'm glad that you... Oh, okay. Eric been here longer than me, but like...
So what we said was, we even said, you know what? Many of us will not offer any more amendments tonight. We won't vote for the overall bill. But if you agree to this, we'll drop any other amendments. We'll take the win that this would be in the bill, that you would agree U.S. citizens can't be deported. They voted to allow Donald Trump to deport U.S. citizens. And they did it during the week that we learned that a 4-year-old little girl fighting cancer, a U.S. citizen, has been deported. Separated from her U.S. citizen father and her cancer treatment. So, yeah, it's kind of shocking.
Well, he's shocked. Y'all, listen now. I came in with nothing but fools. So he been here longer, so maybe... he still has a little bit of shock in his life, but I don't personally. Because the fact is, we used to live in a world in which where we saw the news about that baby that got deported, the baby with cancer, because supposedly he the man that's all about the children with cancer, right? Like, that's why he made sure one of his guests was at the State of the Union was a child with cancer. So surely... even though they're cutting cancer funding, but like it is a U.S. citizen. Like there honestly isn't even this real thing of like deporting a U.S. citizen. As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here. But Deborah is so much nicer about how she says things. She wasn't doing she's one of them real good, nice lawyers. Okay, listen, I can only imagine how Deborah was in the courtroom, honey. But Deborah also sits on judiciary. So tell us, I mean, what are your thoughts? How do you explain that this is what they decided to do?
They're mean, they're heartless, and they're cruel. And they do not care about anybody except themselves. But if you're going to be able to deport U.S. citizens, then they're coming for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So again, like all those people that are saying that they have some sort of buyer's remorse about their votes because they never thought that this was going to impact them and that kind of stuff or whatever. Here's the reality. When we go out and make votes, instead of going out and deciding that you're going to vote for the person that is going to be quote unquote perfect, what you need to be doing is looking for somebody that at least has some common decency. Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, I can tell you if it was somebody else that was in office other than him as the president of the United States, maybe we would have had a different result. But they are so afraid. They are afraid to do what is right. Again, I keep trying to tell people, this isn't about partisanship. This is about right versus wrong. Now, listen, y'all know this fighter. She stays on the front lines, at all times. But no, tell us, because actually this was your amendment.
It was.
So this is the author of the amendment. And we all thought it was common sense, but as we are learning, common sense ain't so common.
Yeah. No, look, here's the thing. This amendment was not introduced because it's theoretical. No. It is actually happening that U.S. citizens are being deported. Not just one, not just two, multiple U.S. citizens are being detained and deported by ICE. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I introduced into the record the document, the policy document, the law that ICE cannot detain and deport U.S. citizens. Yeah. That's actually the law. Yeah. So it's illegal what they're doing. Yeah. And Ted Lieu, our colleague, said, it's batshit crazy that you got to introduce this amendment. He said that on the record. And I said, you know what? It is batshit crazy. But the reason I have to do this
It's because they don't follow the
is
law.
because they're not following the law. And
Right.
then I asked the Republicans on the other side, you were elected by U.S. citizens, by
Right.
constituents.
Right.
And you are now saying, if you vote no on this amendment, you are saying that you're not going to stand up for the constituents, the
That
U.S.
elected.
citizens
That you work for.
that you work for,
That you
that
work
sent
for.
you here.
Right.
And it was just
The
stunning. to
ones
me.
that pay your check.
Now,
Right.
I did notice that some of them
I don't work for
just
US
didn't
I just got
come
here by magic.
to the vote because they didn't want to be
Oh, yeah,
on the
some
record. They didn't want to vote.
Some of them skipped out on the vote,
They
y'all.
skipped out on the vote. So you should check the record. And if you have a Republican that represents you wherever you are, you should call them up and say, do you support Trump's ability to use ICE illegally to detain and deport U.S. citizens? Because if you don't, you should be speaking out right now. And if
right.
you do, we are in a whole hell of a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm already at the point that we are in a whole hell of a lot of trouble, to be perfectly honest. And the other thing that Pramila is too nice to say is when you looked across that aisle, for those that sit on judiciary that decided to take this vote, the reason that they can sit there and take this vote and not even blink is because so many of them sit in privilege. When I look across that aisle, I don't know. I think we have one person that may have a little bit of melanin. For the most part, they don't. And so what we know is that there's so much racial profiling that is taking place. There are certain people that maybe because they have an accent, you want to just say, oh, well, that can't be a U.S. citizen. That is not true. There are certain people, because of the complexion that they have, that is who is being targeted. So you know what? They are not concerned because they know the quote unquote types of U.S. citizens that are going to be directly impacted by this. Now, I got this legend, and I don't know if he want to say anything. He over here trying to eat. But what you got to say for the people, Mr. Nadler? Okay, yeah, he eating. He say no.
I'm ready.
Okay. New York in the building.
We in New York understand, most of us, constitutional law. We understand constitutional rights, and that's why we only have 5 Republicans.
New York, that's 5 too many, y'all. It's 5 too many, New York.
A few of whom we'll probably defeat, maybe all of them next year.
And to our fearless leader. I feel like I've been with him my whole congressional career. That's because I have, actually. What do you have to say?
Well, first of all, hello to all the friends of Jasmine Crockett out there. She's doing a fantastic job for everybody. Look, the first 2 votes have got to be read together. The first one, we said, okay, nobody should be deported from the country without due process. They refused.
Where is due process found?
Due process is found in the 5th Amendment to the Constitution.
Constitution, y'all.
And what does due process
Magna
mean?
Carta.
It means like before they deprive you of your life, your liberty, or your property, you get to hear what the charges are against
Yes.
you. You get to put on your evidence, as
Yes.
Jasmine Crockett has done as a lawyer and as a member of Congress. And there's got to be some structure to it, so it's fair, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be a neutral fact finder,
Right.
right? Who decides? All right, that's all we're saying.
And hopefully prevents these mistakes.
So before you get sent out of the country,
Right.
there's got to be due process. There's got to be
Right.
a fair hearing,
Right.
And our colleagues refused to vote for that,
Yes.
despite the fact that the Supreme Court just said in a 9-0 decision that there's got to
Right.
be, and that includes everybody on that Supreme Court. That's pretty incredible that all 9 of them would actually say, yeah, we agree. There's got to be
Right.
due process.
And the
for-
last time I checked, the Constitution, that's supposed to be the highest law that we have in the land. That's what I thought.
Supreme law of
That's
the
what I
land.
thought.
Not Donald
He's
Trump. Right?
constitutional
So the-
professor, y'all.
So the first one says, okay, we said you can't deport people without due process. The Republicans said no. The second one, Ms. Jaibal's amendment, she said, well, you can't deport or detain U.S. citizens if you're ICE, right? That's
Right.
not your job.
Right.
I thought that was a slam dunk. Okay, they're not going to
Right.
vote again. They voted against that. They
Yeah.
voted it down. You put those 2 together, and they seem to be indifferent if ICE is actually detaining and deporting U.S. citizens. And guess what? That's not hypothetical. That happened last week,
Yep.
where there were U.S. citizen kids who were sent outside of the country. So we're entering a brave new world here with all of their Orwellian Kafka-esque stuff. And we're just getting started, though, because we're going to now pin them down on everything. We're going to have amendments on everything to see where they really stand on the Constitution.
Yeah. So you just heard it directly from Jamie Raskin. He is trying to teach these people some constitutional law, y'all. They ain't trying to listen. They act like it's only one amendment in the Constitution, the second, and they read that one wrong. Listen, if you care about this country, if you care about the Constitution, if you care about anything, then you will go and tell somebody what we have just educated you on. I got Becca Ballant. Listen, I'm trying to let her finish. But here's the deal. It is so frustrating because we could see the writing on the walls as we went out and we tried to educate people about what it was that they were up to. If they have it their way, this country would only be full of Elon Musk and Trump and they other billionaire friends and whoever is willing to work for them for little to nothing and have no health care and not be able to really afford food and not be able to afford a roof over their head, because we are working on reconciliation, meaning we are working on the budget. And so what we were saying in these amendments was you can't fund this type of activity. That's all we were saying, because it's already illegal. So you wouldn't need to keep doing like the same law over and over. But we're like, okay, maybe we just need to take your coins away. And then maybe y'all will stop, because maybe you'll be like, well, I'm not going to get no money for doing this. So this is actually about the coins. Okay. So I want to clarify, because I know some of y'all may be confused. Like, well, if it's already the law, why y'all talking about it? Okay. It is the money side of it. I just want to make sure I make that clear.
Always follow the money.
Follow the money.
Always follow the money.
This is the amazing Becca Ballant.
You're too kind.
From the great state of Vermont. What do you think about what's happening so far? We got a long night ahead of us, y'all.
They are willing to throw over all of our rights. They are willing to throw over the freedom and the liberty of their own people in order to worship at the feet of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They don't care about their constituents. They don't care about working people. It is about delivering more cash to people at the top. You follow the money and where it goes, and it's about kicking working people in the teeth, propping up people who don't need the advantages they already have, and meanwhile creating a police state. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
With what we just saw in committee right there. They will not promise not to spend money to detain and deport American citizens.
Yeah.
They couldn't be more clear.
This is all about doing whatever it is, allowing Donald Trump the latitude to do the things that he wants to do. This is my second markup for the day. My first was in oversight, and when I was there, I mean, the things that they were trying to do, they're trying to bust up unions. They are over there saying things like, you know what, we don't want federal workers to have the protections that they would normally have in being a federal worker. We need to make them all at will so that we can fire them whenever we want to. So essentially admitting that they know that what they did when they started firing everybody, they knew it was illegal. So now they are trying to change federal worker status so that they can do this stuff lawfully. Like, I'm telling y'all, this is absolutely insane. It is bad, bad, bad. But make sure that you don't just get on IG, listen to me. Make sure that you go and you educate somebody else, because we are in this position because of a lack of education, because we allowed ourselves to be played, or we allowed ourselves to be riled up about things that, frankly, we ain't never had no president that was trying to decide what kids can play on the playground. The president is supposed to do things like make sure that those kids can have food in their mouths, roofs over their heads, and food in their mouths. I think I may have already said that. Anyway, if that buzz in your hair means I gotta go vote. But I just wanted to check in with y'all. I appreciate y'all. We gonna keep fighting. The blue team got your back.
The baker and the handyman's sweet connection. In a quaint village nestled in a picturesque valley, there stood a small house in the shape of a mushroom. This whimsical home belonged to a young boy named Jamie, barely out of high school, who had a passion for baking. Inside, his cozy kitchen was always filled with the sweet aroma of cakes, cookies, and all sorts of delightful treats. What made his creation special was that each of his cakes was shaped like tiny mushrooms, a nod to his quirky home. Jamie's baking became the talk of the town. From birthdays to celebrations, everyone in the village adored his sweets.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
Sable's Song, A Siren's Journey to Joy. Once upon a time, in a small, worn-out town in Middle America, there lived a little child named Sable. Worn into poverty, Sable's body was frail, so thin that you could see her bones, but her heart was filled with an exuberance that not even hunger could dull. Sable was awkward, with dark, deep-set eyes that sparkled with innocence and wonder. Despite being born a boy, Sable always knew she was different. Inside her lived a girl, bright and effervescent, waiting to bloom.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
The Park of Secrets.
In the year 2060, near the heart of Florida, just a stone's throw from Disney World, stood a theme park unlike any other, a place known as the House of Secrets. It was a magical park, much like a state fair, filled with towering rides, carnival games, and parades that drew people from all over the world. But among the grand Ferris wheel and the colorful day parade, there was one attraction that outshined them all, the parade princess, a mesmerizing mermaid named Kenya. Kenya was a sight to behold. At 22 years old, fresh out of college, she had the kind of beauty that drew people to her like moths to a flame. Her brown skin glowed under the park lights, her hair a stunning mix of purple and pink that cascaded over her shoulders. Little pink hearts adorned her cheeks, and a ribbon of color stretched across her nose. But it wasn't just her beauty that made her special. Her eyes, big and almond-shaped, seemed to capture the hearts of everyone who saw.
Discover the magic of the Park of Secrets. Step into a world of wonder with the Park of Secrets, a heartwarming tale by Ariel Williams that will captivate your imagination. This enchanting story is now available exclusively on Lulu Books.
The Future, Daughters of Liberty, A New Dawn. In 2040, the United States was a fractured nation, still reeling from the fallout of Project 2025, the catastrophic policy that had allowed a resurgence of systemic oppression. The Deep South had seceded once more, forming the antebellum republic, where human trafficking, racial inequality, and gender oppression became tragically normalized. The Second Civil War erupted as the rest of the nation sought to free those trapped in this dystopian regime. After years of bloodshed, Kamala Harris had finally led the Union to victory, restoring a fragile sense of hope. But the battle scars ran deep, especially in places like Louisiana, where the remnants of a broken society still lingered.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
A Dying Planet, The Last Harvest.
In the year 2060, Earth is a shadow of its former self, choked by pollution, endless concrete, and abandoned by nature. Only a small fishing village by the sea has managed to preserve the planet's last untouched forest. In this dying world, June and Win, two young girls and the last children in their village, cling to the remnants of hope and innocence. Win roams the forest, collecting the season's last harvest, while June sings songs that echo with a haunting beauty through the village.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.